Hello everyone, good evening. This is Super Formula Times. Today's episode is for June 6th, 2025. Today, there was a test held at Fuji Speedway. Since I didn't have any particular plans this afternoon, I spent the afternoon doing a live stream, just casually chatting and rambling on. While I was talking, fairly early on, the topic came up that some penalties had already been issued. I thought, penalties have been handed out. And honestly, I was a bit surprised that they came out so soon. I was like, here they come. And then saw that actually there were 2 penalties. I thought, wait, what's the other one? Then I remembered, right, there was that too. So today, I'm going to talk about those 2 penalties. Though honestly, I won't talk much about one of them because it's been covered so much already. It's become a matter that really isn't worth debating anymore. Let's start with the case involving driver Fukuzumi. So this penalty was issued to the KCMG team. Now, about what happened. On Sunday, May 18, 2025, after the qualifying session of the 5th round of the 2025 Super Formula season, the driver of car number 8 from KCMG tried to grab another driver. I was going to add a note here but forgot. The other driver involved was Odaka. So, the KCMG driver ignored the team coordinator's attempt to stop him and tried to grab Odaka with his right hand. Yes, that's the incident. By the way, the team coordinator involved was Yuhi Sekiguchi. As for the penalty, KCMG's car number 8 was given a restriction on running time. This applies to the upcoming 6th round on July 18th at Fuji Speedway, specifically the dedicated Friday practice sessions of the 6th and 7th rounds at Fuji. The penalty is issued to the car number, so even if the driver changes, it will probably still apply. The restriction is that out of 120 minutes of running time, the team cannot use the latter 60 minutes. However, to ensure race safety, the first 60 minutes of running are allowed. This is similar to what often happens in SUPERGT, where a penalty can prohibit participation in the latter half of free practice sessions, usually when 4 penalty points have been accumulated. So this is the kind of penalty that was handed down. That's the situation. I transcribed what was recorded on SFGO. I wasn't sure if I was allowed to use the broadcast video, so I put it into text instead. Around 12 minutes remaining, Fukuzumi was really on a good attack lap. He set personal bests in Sector 1 and Sector 2, and those personal bests were quite impressive times. He was on pace to easily get 3rd place. If everything went well, 3rd was solid, and if things went perfectly, 2nd was possible. Pole position was a bit out of reach, but he was really putting in an excellent lap. Then, around 12 minutes left, near the jet coaster straight, the number 28 car appeared. At that time, the 28 car was warming up, as I mentioned earlier. And Fukuzumi was on personal best pace in sectors 1 and 2. But the timing to yield to the 28 car just didn't work out. It was completely off. Really bad timing. When entering Sector 3, he finally slowed down somewhat. I believe it was at the corner just before Sayurin Bridge where he had to give way, and that ultimately ruined his attack lap. In response, Fukuzumi overtook the 28 car. Of course he overtook it, but he also showed a protest gesture at that time. However, that protest wasn't good at all. The video showed a very bad image. He gave the middle finger. That's definitely not good. That alone could warrant a penalty. He was clearly very angry. He was so angry that he ended his attack and came into the pits. There was no time left for a final attack lap. When the final attack was about to begin, Sasha Fenestras spun at the final corner, which caused a yellow flag, and as a result, no one could complete their final time attack. In the end, Fukuzumi stayed in 4th place. Matsuda Tsugio, who is an advisor for KCMG and can listen to the radio communication, said something like, "That's really unacceptable. Usually drivers say what they want over the radio and don't get more angry than that." Fukuzumi is not the type to get angry normally either, but because qualifying ended so unsatisfactorily, he must have gotten fired up again. He went to the pit of the 28 car's driver, Odaka. That scene was faintly visible on the 28 car's SFGO footage. Fukuzumi and a person believed to be Sekiguchi, the team coordinator, were visible. Fukuzumi was easy to recognize because he was wearing his racing suit, and the other person was wearing a normal KCMG staff t-shirt. Though only their back was visible and it's not 100% confirmed, it is believed that person was indeed Sekiguchi, the team coordinator. Sekiguchi was desperately trying to stop Fukuzumi. Whether Fukuzumi actually grabbed Odaka is not shown on video, it's unclear. But the act of going to Odaka in the pit itself is the subject of the penalty. Going there at all was not allowed, and that is why this action became the subject of disciplinary action. The penalty is actually quite severe. From what I researched, it's rare to see a ban on 60 minutes of free practice. Honestly, I was surprised that Super Formula even has this kind of penalty. I couldn't find any previous cases of it. Maybe I just don't know about them, but at least I couldn't quickly find any examples. If anyone knows of any, please let me know. Penalty points also exist in Super Formula, right? When a driver accumulates 6 points, they receive a one-race suspension. In Super Formula, the only penalty for accumulating points is a suspension from a race. In Super GT, it works a bit differently. First, you get banned from 1 hour of free practice. After that, you get a grid penalty in qualifying. And when you accumulate around 12 points, you get suspended from racing. The system goes something like 4, 6, 8, and 12 points, or maybe 10, something like that. So penalties increase step by step in that way. Also, I heard that the stewards imposed a fine of 200,000 yen, but it's not listed in the official results. I think it should be listed there. Since it's from the stewards, maybe it was given on the day or afterward, but normally it should appear in the results. Now that results are digital, they could just add it on top, so I thought it was a bit strange. So the story is that the driver received a 200,000 yen fine from the stewards and was also banned from free practice. By the way, in Super GT, here's how it works if drivers want to file a protest against each other. If a driver wants to verbally protest another driver during the race due to some incident, the rule clearly states that they must bring their team manager or a supervisor along. So basically, someone to stop you and a higher up must be there too. You can't just go by yourself. In other words, trying to go alone is no good, and actually going alone is definitely forbidden. You must bring your manager, or probably the team principal, or at least the chief engineer. Because they are the authorized representatives, it's not acceptable for just a mechanic or a manager to come. The person who represents the team has to go. And of course, violent behavior is absolutely prohibited in every JAF-sanctioned series. Violence leads to immediate suspension or license revocation. In the worst case, there could even be police charges. And now, let me briefly introduce the penalty for the other team. Yes, it's triple tree racing. The incident happened during the same day at the race itself. In the team battle of triple tree racing, they were penalized for an act of insulting an evasive start against another team. As for the penalty, Triple Tree Racing is being restricted from participating in the championship. This restriction applies to the entire 6th round. So, I think free practice sessions are probably still allowed. Yes, free practice should be fine. But for July 19th, at the 6th round, the team principal is under a full-day ban from entering the pit and paddock. Also, they're prohibited from using radio communications and are subject to further restrictions. Since they can't enter the pit or paddock, I thought they could still go to the stands, but well, they probably won't. And then, where else? Hospitality, maybe? Well, basically, it's better if they don't go to the circuit at all. So that's the kind of penalty they received. Honestly, I'm not going to dig any deeper into this. It's just exhausting to get into it. I've already written about it on Twitter, so please check that out. And honestly, I think the general public's reaction is the right one. So that's basically it. Now, regarding the legal basis, both penalties seem to come from the same source, the team registration contract. At first I thought, wait, what, that exists? But of course it does. Basically, when a team registers to participate, they sign a contract. That contract probably includes general agreed terms and conditions. They actually call it a contract. More accurately, they call it terms, or clauses. It's assumed these clauses have been agreed upon. Among them, there is Article 2, Clause 5, which states that all persons involved in the competition, officials, real drivers, and team crew, must act with knowledge and responsibility. They must strictly avoid threatening, hostile, or aggressive behavior that could reasonably be expected to cause discomfort or humiliation to others. If such an attack is confirmed, the person becomes subject to penalties under Article 11 of the JAF competition regulations. So apparently, this kind of rule is written there, and the penalties this time were based on that team registration contract. It seems that this rule was applied to both cases. I had said before the season started that something like this might happen, and well, it did. One was unintentional, but either way, it happened. To be honest, all I can say is, please reflect on your actions. It's tough, but I personally find this season very interesting, so I want to focus on the racing itself from now on. So those are the 2 penalties issued. That's the June 6th edition. If you like this, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. See you next time.